Welcome to Idas Bara Kate Mila Falcha Hinu Riv Gokenya on Shaw Noct. Indeed, I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight, young and old and in between. It's great to be here, and it's great to have a chance to put on a concert like this. It's part of the CAVAN calling event, and we're very lucky that we can run it under the auspices of Dr. Galligan, CCE. We have a great show lined up for you, a really, really good show, and it'll be going for about 2 hours, and I know that you will enjoy it. Agus ba white lump say Idas Bara, I'd like first of all to call on Laura Somuraku, who is the Ardstúrthór of Comhaltas Ceoltóirí. He's a very important man in the field of Irish music and other fields as well, and he's been involved for years and years in the promotion of Irish music, song and dance. So without further ado, Laura Somuraku, Ardstúrthór, Comhaltas Ceoltóirí.
This miri eva cordon agus caimera gwil áhas crí ormsa Behar Nation Shah CAVAN Arish. I still remember the 3 great flana that we had in this town, and we have got a memory for life. And of course, people like Jack Keys and all those other people connected with the Fla certainly did us proud. It's always great too to be in the company of Philip and Martin Donoghue, because we're fully aware of their commitment to the music. It was first mentioned to me, this event, by Mary Sullivan, and Mary is secretary of the Irish Family History Foundation, and it just happens that I'm the chairman. So I would have been working a lot with Mary over the years, and of course Tom and all those other people involved in genealogy. But firstly, it's great to see such a fine audience here tonight, and in such a beautiful, beautiful centre as well. Now, I've been asked really to speak about the growth of Comhaltas throughout the world, and I was looking at the programme, and I noticed that the GAA had a similar section. So there are a lot of similarities. I suppose when you reach a certain age, you're entitled to go back on Bohrín na Smaointe, the Bohrín of memories. So we look back first of all at 1951, when Comhaltas was founded in Mullingar 72 years ago. And it's significant that last year, the Fla, which was held in Cavan, was actually held in Mullingar, the cradle of Comhaltas. And we're told that of that 500,000 people who attended in Mullingar, that 27% were out of state. That meant that 27% had come back to the Flacciol in Mullingar. And this, in a way, gives me a lead into what I would like to say about the spread of Comhaltas throughout the world today. It was in 1968 that I became president of Comhaltas at that time. And in 1969, Una and myself, we were asked to travel with a group of musicians to America, and the idea was that we would establish branches of Comhaltas throughout America as well. Now that trip for me was an education, because it took in many of the big cities in America where there were Irish communities. And if you just want a small statistic that might be able to put this into context for you, we're told that 40 million people of Irish extraction are in America. And we're told that there are 70 million of Irish extraction throughout the world. So really that is the Irish nation in exile. But we get statistics, we get figures, but you don't get the emotional contact or the emotional feeling at all. So when we went in 1969 and we were traveling throughout America, it was possibly the first time that I understood really what the Irish diaspora was. Not just a statistic, not just a sense of history, but the feeling that those people have for the homeland. It was something just edifying and uplifting, and you felt a great sense that here we are, a small island, a small nation, and here we had this big support group right throughout North America. So it was important for Comhaltas to set up branches in all of these places. Now bear in mind that Irish traditional music would have been well played throughout America, because many of the people who emigrated from Ireland over the years after the famine, which was just almost something of genocidal proportions, it was like being in an abyss of despair. And yet the Irish people, possibly with the influence of the young Irelanders, rose to the top again. The people went to America. Many didn't survive the journey on coffin ships and so on. But when they got there, they put down their roots. And really the only badge of identity, cultural identity, they had with them at that time was the music. They didn't bring the language, or if they did, it wasn't manifested in the community. But the music was. So the music was now being played, and because the music in itself has a particular attraction, not just for Irish people, but people maybe who are not Irish at all. So they were very well received, and many of them became quite professional. And the link back to Ireland at that time was that they were able to record their music in America, which they wouldn't have been doing at home. And the old 78 records were being sent back home. And if somebody was lucky, and there wouldn't have been many, would have had a gramophone in their house. Do you remember the gramophone that you used to wind up? Some of you might remember it. That would be in the kitchen, and the record would be playing on it. But the neighbours would want to hear it as well. So the window was open so that they could hear this music. And that made a huge contribution to Irish music back home, and was a very strong link. Now, there was America and roots for Comhaltas. The same happened throughout Scotland and England and Wales. And again, there was a particular reason why this was so successful at that time, because the Irish people who had emigrated and their families, they also wanted something that brought the Irish people together socially and culturally, and the music was the key. So when the branches were set up in those countries, they took root as well. And that was a huge support to Comhaltas back at home. I was chatting earlier about one great personality here in CAVAN associated with the start of Comhaltas. I knew him very well, and that was Dr. Brian Galligan. And he was well known for wearing the bawneen, but he had a huge sense of energy. And he went around in Ireland setting up branches, county boards, provincial councils, etc., and then getting the Flana going and so on. So it was building, but the encouragement they got from Britain and the encouragement they got from the Irish in America was a huge, huge boost. But also they made a huge impact for the Irish community abroad. And they were respected, and they were beginning to be accepted. Maybe there was a slowness in the beginning in the countries of their adoption, but gradually that was being accepted. And now people, politicians and others, were looking at this. And if you go fast forward at this stage and just realize the interest that the President of the United States, Bill Clinton, took in the Irish situation and the Northern situation, he actually had a hands-on involvement. Now, I believe the main reason for that was that he saw what the Irish community were achieving in America. He saw how solid, how decent the people they were, how committed and how industrious they were as well. That influenced him, and it influenced him in the direction of Ireland. And as you know, Bill Clinton has come back on several occasions, including the anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement. So it's in that environment that Comhaltas and the GAA was situated, playing their part at that particular time. The interesting thing, though, it didn't stop at that. And Comhaltas started to expand step by step. Australia came on board very quickly. And as you know, there's a very big Irish community as well in Australia. And in that case, the branches were formed. They had a connection back to Ireland. There was constant communications going on with America, with Britain, and with Australia. And then gradually it expanded beyond that. And if the founders of Comhaltas in 1951, when they gathered in that small room in Mullingar, I don't honestly believe they could have even hoped for the development which was taking place down through the years. Because remember, 1951, the morale in Ireland was at a very, very low ebb, because there was a mass exodus of the lifeblood of the nation, because there was no work at home. They were leaving in their droves. And it was a short time, only a short time after the War of Independence, when so many people had such great expectations which hadn't yet been realized. So to come into that room and expect that something would happen. What they did do, they sowed the seed for the harvest which we're reaping down through the years. So again, let's fast forward and see where we are today. If we had told the people in Mullingar in 1951 that Comhaltas in 2023 would now be operating in 21 countries worldwide. So you can go to Chile, you can go to Colombia, you can go to Argentina, you can go to Moscow, you can go to Sardinia, you can go to Tokyo. Right throughout the world, Comhaltas is now organized, and not just in name. There's constant contacting between them. And a lot of them, of course, would only be friends of Ireland. They would have no Irish connection. But the influence, nevertheless, was there. I saw something at the Flagshole in Ennis some years ago. 2 Ceilidh bands from Tokyo, all Japanese, in the Ceilidh band competition in Ennis. And I saw something which I had never seen at a competition before at a Flagshole. Both those bands, both of them, got a standing ovation. And why wouldn't they? Here they were playing our music, but playing it as good as you possibly could expect. I was talking to a government minister from Clare, and he was in Colombia for St. Patrick's Day, and he heard Irish music being played, and he thought, that's either the Kelfanora or the Tulla Ceilidh band. But when he got closer, he didn't recognize any of them. They were all Columbans playing Irish music, but it struck him that they had captured the whole spirit and the whole essence, and yes, even the whole spirituality of the music. President Mary McAleese was in Japan one time for St. Patrick's Day, and she was accompanied by the government minister, Sheila de Valera, and they were on the platform waiting for the parade to come. They could hear the music coming, and they were just wondering what group was out from Ireland. And then they saw this big banner at the beginning of the parade, Comhaltas Ceoltóirí Éireann, and behind it they had a group of Japanese musicians playing, and behind them, young Japanese dancing a Clare set. So when we're talking now about music, we're talking about something much, much bigger. We're talking really about international interaction. We're talking about reconciliation, as we saw at the Fleadh in Derry in 2013, when 430,000 people gathered in that city in 2013. And all traditions, yes, all traditions, without exception, coalesced into one to celebrate our culture and who we are as a people, much greater than all the headlines, all the policies, all the megaphone diplomacies. You have to now look deeply into this gift that we have. So when people want now to know about their roots, they're obviously wanting to know when did our people come from Ireland, what period was it in, etc. And I suppose that's where genealogy comes into it. That's where the Irish Family History Foundation, and you can check Irish Roots online and you can be assisted there. So I'm always hoping that when we get the opportunity, that we think bigger than just the Fleadh Cheoil. We think of what happens at the Fleadh. We think of the Irish coming back and bringing their friends back with them. We think of the young people who are setting out on that same road, and really the safe environment in which they are going to operate. But I think one of the greatest things of all that has happened when it comes to that music at home and abroad, one of the greatest things that has happened, they say that young people are hyper-progressive and modernistic and so on, and yet they have taken in their droves to Irish traditional music. Look at the Fleadh. 25,000 young musicians come through the Fleadh every year. There's 1,500 classes throughout the country every year teaching music, all full. And even looking at your branches here in CAVAN and the work that has been done there. So when I was asked to speak here tonight, I was thinking to myself the context into which this must be placed. And then I look down here in the front rows and I see the young musicians and people maybe not so young waiting to come on stage and give us a display here. Probably an echo of the Fleadh in CAVAN, but above all else indicating very closely that the music is vibrant, that the music is alive, that it's celebrated now, as I said, in 21 countries worldwide, that it's impressing leaders. And we had an example ourselves in Cashel last March of last year. We had a visit from Prince Charles and Camilla, that we hosted them for an hour at the Comhaltas Centre. That's not a big story, but the big story, I think, is they requested to be taught some Irish dance steps, and they were put through their paces, and they did it, and they learned. They brought the steps back home, and I'm often wondering if the King of England at the moment will show his prowess in dancing. But isn't that history in the making, that a King of England now would want to learn and be part of our culture? But I know why it is, because our culture is now on a pedestal. It wasn't always like that. It was challenged, and before Comhaltas was founded, we should recognize the old musicians who sat by the fireside, keeping lonely vigil, playing their music in the hope that better days would come. The better days have come. You've seen them in CAVAN. It's seen throughout the world. And we should take great pride, not that we're better than any other country, but we survived as a people against all the odds. Our culture and our music survived against all the odds. And today, it's one of the most sought after cultures and music in the world. Enjoy the rest of the night. Agus go merimid bio an naum seo a ríis. Go mille mágad.
Thank you very much indeed, Laurus. Laurus has never stuck for words, and he's a great man to talk. No notes, no nothing. Now, we have a feast of music and song and dance, and I'm not going to hold you up or anything like that. And our first artist is from Ballinagh, and he's a member of our branch of Dr. Galligan CCE, and he's been with us for a long time, and we're very proud of him. But he has many accolades in Irish music, and he travels around a bit. He used to work in Cork and all the rest, but he's back home with us, and he has actually won an All-Ireland with the Connacht Nagiha Kelly Band when he was down there in Tulla. Isn't that right, Fergus? Yes. And he's lots. So I'm not going to say any more. Fergus Bogue from Ballinagh, County Cavan, and Myra Fraser on piano from all the way from Scotland, but living in Mullingar.
Thank you very much. There were a jig and a reel. Cherished Ladies was the first jig, and the reel was Lucy Campbell's. And before I go any further, I'd like to just thank everyone for organising the night, and everyone who's doing things behind the scenes, like the sound and the lights and the venue and everything else. And most of all, I'd like to thank Myra for playing along with me here, which isn't an easy job. So I'm going to finish with a set. The first two jigs I learned from the playing of Finbard Wire, and I'll go into a reel that I learned. It's called Michael Russell's Mason's Apron. So enjoy your night, and thank you very much. Woo!
Now, that was Fergus Vogue, and indeed, Fergus is a great performer and goes down well with everybody. He's a pupil of Aileen Gagans, and Aileen is from not too far out the road, and she in turn was a pupil of the late great Vincent Tighe, so I suppose you could hear the musical strains coming through there. And Fergus is currently teaching out in Ballinga. And another lady who's living in Ballinga and is also a teacher is with us as well, and she's coming next. Her name is Karen Gilroy. She is also a member of the Dr. Galligan CCE, and she would have been with us in the Breffni Kelly bands for many, many years, playing the accordion and playing the piano and all that type of thing. But she's not playing the accordion tonight, and she's not playing the piano. She's going to sing a song for you, and she has her own guitar accompaniment. So Karen Gilroy.
Thanks very much, Philip. And indeed, like Fergus, I don't know how you follow that, what brilliant playing, but thanks to Philip and the branch, and indeed Mary, who's done tremendous work in organising CAVAN calling. Tonight I'm going to sing a song. Philip had friends down one time back, I think, in Boylans in Killalec. I was trying to remember today, and they were over from Slane, and they sang this song. It's called The Blackbird of Slane, and I thought it was very nice, and we talked about it going home in the car. It's about a man called Francis Ledwidge, who was killed during World War I, and he was a famous poet up around Slane, and unfortunately he was killed. So I just said I'd sing this one tonight. I'll do it especially for Phyllis and Peggy. They are good neighbours of ours. I was walking one day by the banks of the Boyne, by a long leafy wall and a castle so fine, when I heard a small bird singing high on a tree, and it seemed at the time she was singing to me. And I thought she sang, "Traveller, where have you been? Have you been near the green grassy place called the Somme, or Flanders fair fields, or that long lonely plain where they laid my young Ledwidge, my blackbird of Slane? Oh, I'll Connemara, the breezes blow free, and they hold many heartaches and memories for me. Oh, my prince and my poet, he treasured in vain my beautiful Frances, my blackbird of Slane. All those words left unwritten, those songs left unsung, Dunsany's bright star from the heavens has gone, and the cruel war raging far over the sea has stolen my Ledwidge, my blackbird of Slane. Oh, these are the words and the waters below, and here lies a stone on the hillside above, and along in each field and each green country lane beats the heart of my hero, my blackbird of Slane. On wild Connemara, the breezes blow free, and they hold many heartaches and memories for me. Oh, my prince and my poet, he perished in vain, my beautiful Frances, my blackbird of Slane. On wild Connemara, the breezes my prince and my poet, he perished in vain. My beautiful Francis, my blackbird all slain. My beautiful blackbird, my blackbird all slain. Thanks very much. Enjoy your night. Thank you.
Well done, Karen. And indeed, we're very fortunate to have Fergus and Karen in our branch because they're great stalwarts. Now, we can't claim the next people that's coming. We can't claim James McGovern, but James is a member of CAVAN Town CCE, and James is here tonight with his family, and he's a good-sized family. I can remember James when he was a little lad coming to the sessions up in Muncher. I'm sure John Daly can remember them as well. A whole heap of McGoverns. I remember them coming up with Eugene Leddy one time, and there was a van load of them. But tonight, James has his family with him. They're all here, and I'll let James do the talking because you've heard enough of me. So over to James McGovern and family.
Hi, thanks very much for that. We're going to start with a few jigs. The first one's called The Homecoming, no name for the second one. Thanks very much. We're going to continue with no Carolyn tune now. I think it's called Henry McDermott is the name of it, followed by a jig after that. It's a version of The Frost Is All Over. Thanks very much, and thanks for Philip and the Dr. Brian Galligan branch for asking us here tonight. Thank you. Thanks very much. Thanks, Philip.
Martin Donoghue is usually doing MC, and I'm usually tidying up the chairs and doing the amplification. But I'm delighted tonight to be able to give Martin a job. And you're finding Martin? Not a bit. Not a bit. He's a very agreeable man. Anyway, the next man that's coming he's originally from Cork, from Malacranny, Cork, and his name is John Daly. And he has been around these neck of the woods for a long time. And he can remember playing lots of tunes together in the old castle and the Kelly House and all the rest together over the years. And he's also been in Chicago and all around the place. And he's put out a solo CD, and he's also put other recordings. He's a great lover of Shetland music. He's been over here on many occasions. And as I said, John has a particular draw. I don't think he minds me saying this, for the airs. I can always remember John playing airs. He never went a night by, but John would always play a few airs. And we'd be always trying to steal a few or learn a few from him. But that's not to say that he wasn't good at the dance music as well. He certainly was. Anyway, without further ado, John Daly and Myra Fraser.
Thank you, Philip. Good evening, everybody. Kick off here with a set of jigs for you. First one out the gate is an Ed Reevy jig called Gene O'Donnell. Lovely jig. And appropriately composed, obviously, by a CAVAN man. Then it's followed by the Eavesdropper. And I don't know who's ever laid claim to composing that, but we all know who they are. We have them all around us. And we'll finish then with a jig from Scotland and close to the heart of Myra Fraser here, who tells me backstage that this jig, it's called the Rosewood. George Rosewood of Aberdeen is actually, I think, the name of the tune. And it was composed by Scott Skinner. And that when her dad, when her dad was a baby, his own dad or mom were pushing him in the carry cart of the pram, and James Scott Skinner turned up and looked in on him and said, "What a bonny laddie." So there you are, that's the connection between us and that tune. So we'll try those three jigs for you. Hey. I had planned maybe to finish with a set of reels, but Philip mentioned airs, and I suppose that created just another notion in my own head. We're going to go with one lovely air here, this time a contemporary air, by a gentleman called Wilfred Josephs. I'm supposed to be talking through this one. Wilfred Josephs, and he is a composer of music for radio and TV background music, and this is called Enemy at the Door. And I learned it anyway from a friend of mine up in Shetland, whom Martin Donoghue would have known quite well, a fellow called Jimmy Burgess. And the joke at the time with Jimmy was that there were so many episodes of this particular Enemy at the Door series that it took them months to learn it because they only played bits of it at each one. So here's the Enemy at the Door, and we'll follow that by The Tin Wedding, which I think is a hornpipe made famous by Sean Maguire. Okay, so good night again, and thank you very, very much, Philip, and everybody who's responsible for having us all here and having such a great night of music. Thank you. Thank you very much. And thanks again to Myra Fraser for backing me. Appreciate it very, very much. At absolutely no notice. So thank you, Myra.
That was indeed lovely music from John and Myra, and I knew John would not leave the house without playing an air. Always a great man to play the airs. Now, we're getting close enough to the end of the first half, and we are going to have a few tunes now from three people, and I think I have to join them myself. The first here on my left is Martin Hickey. We'll say he's from Mullingar, that'll cover you. And Orla Hickey. I always call her Orla Corcoran, but she's Orla Hickey now. I can remember them when they weren't Mr. and Mrs. Hickey. I remember we used to play in a Killy band called the Congress Killy Band years ago, and Martin was a nice little quiet fella, and the next thing I realised then, when Orla joined it, that they were an item, and two nicer people you couldn't find. I have to say, lovely people to work with and great people. And Olive Kilbane is from Portonna, trying to watch the wires here, in County Galway, but she's living in Abilara now. She's a former teacher from in Canuckwira. So we're going to play a set for you. This is unrehearsed. Is it jigs you're doing? Oh, you've changed the thing. Or well, you can tell me just when I sit down what you're going to do. A selection of jigs. Okay. Because we realised that we have to play for dancers as well, and we didn't want to waste up all our good tunes. Is that right, Martin? So we're keeping that for the dancers, so we just changed them around. Okay. Only for you, Martin. So that was our set of jigs. Now we have a very important set of dancers that have been on the go a long time. Maybe not this particular set, but the Munchauconnet set of dancers have been going as long as I can remember. And I can remember great names like Helen Henry, and I can remember Tommy King and all the rest. Come back the years, and many, many more as well. But they're Ulster champions after being crowned Ulster champions in Tramore. So you can give them a round of applause to start them off. So and they're going to dance the CAVAN reel set for you. And we have some members of our branch, like Breach Leddy is in there, and a very hard worker with the Dr. Galligan CC. And James Henry has only stepped in at the last minute. Great man, James. It often happens that there's one down, and there is tonight, so James is the man that stepped in. They're going to dance the CAVAN reel set for you. And I think that's all we're going to say about them. So enjoy the Muncher Connacht set dancers. Now, and a very special word of thanks to the Muncher Connacht Celtic dancers. Were excellent, weren't they? Applause to Malachy and Eva Burke.
Thanks very much. I don't know what we're going to play. My memory's completely shot. Do you want to tell me? Munster Buttermilk is the first one. Bill Collins, and Dave is teaching me these tunes. She's the one off learning the tunes now. Let's see. I just say thanks to Dr. Gallagher Branch and to Philip in particular, who gave Eva her start in the whistle. I'll be forever grateful for that, because it's great for me to be able to play with my daughter here. So. All right, you ready? actually is one that Ava taught me. So. Okay, well, yeah. 3,
Now, well done indeed, Maliki and Ava. And again, we're very lucky to have those good people in our branch. And there's so many others in our branch that we could have put on tonight, but with the time constraints, we just didn't, we only got so many in, fitted in, and that's just the way it is. We'd like to compliment as well and congratulate the members of our branch who have won accolades at the Ulster FLA as well. Maybe we'll give them a round of applause. I'm not going to mention them all out, but they all know who they are. And just as well, I'd like to thank Tom and Mary Sullivan for the great work that they've put into this, and not just into this, but into so many events that we run up our way. And indeed, they were so prominent at Flacco and Heron when it came to Cavan in 2010, 11 and 12. They were there as well. But this is their daughter behind me. Her name is Ruth Sullivan. And I have her down on the programme as Ruth McInerney because she changed her status there since that. Isn't that right, Ruth? So Ruth is the daughter of Tom and Mary, who does all that good work and who has been responsible for putting this together and coordinating with the Dr. Galligan branch to do so. So over to Ruth.
Thanks, Philip. And thanks to the Dr. Galligan branch for inviting me to sing here tonight. I'm going to sing a song called Kilkelly. It tells the story of an Irish family through a series of letters written by a father at home in Kilkelly in County Mayo to his son who had emigrated to America. Kilkelly, Ireland, 18 and 60, my dear and loving son John. Your good friend, the schoolmaster, Pat McNamara's, so good as to write these words down.
Patrick O'Donnell are going to be married in June. Your mother says not to work on the railroad, and be sure to come on home soon. Kilkelly, Ireland, 1870, my dear and loving son John. Hello to your missus and to your 4 children. May they grow healthy and strong. Michael has got in a wee bit of trouble. I suppose that he never will learn. Because of the dampness, there's no turf to speak of, and now we have nothing to burn. And Bridget is happy you named a child for her, although she's got 6 of her own. You say you found work, but you don't say what kind or when you'll be coming home. Kilkelly, Ireland, 18 and 80, dear Michael and John, my sons. I'm sorry to tell you the very sad news that your dear old mother has gone. We buried her down at the church in Kilkelly. Your brothers and Bridget were there. You don't have to worry, she died very quickly. Remember her in your prayers. And it's so good to hear that Michael's returning with money. He's sure to buy land, for the crop has been poor and the people are selling for any price that they can. Kilkelly, Ireland, 18 and 90, my dear and loving son John. I suppose that I must be close on to 80. It's 30 years since you've gone. And because of all of the money you sent me, I'm still living out on my own. Michael has built himself a fine house, and Bridget's daughters have grown. Thank you for sending your family picture. They're lovely young women and men. You say you might even come for a visit. What joy to see you again. Kilkelly, Ireland, 18 and 92, my dear brother John. I'm sorry I didn't write sooner to tell you that father passed on. He was living with Bridget, she says. He was cheerful and healthy
I better not collide with Martin Donohoe because I'd probably come out the wrong side of that one. Now, Ruth, well done, and we're delighted to have Ruth as a member of our branch. Great singer, and Sullivan family, great family, steeped in tradition and always on call when you want a hand. Now, we ran a quiz in Kinelec a few years back when we were doing fundraising for Dr. Brian Galligan for the Flag Hole, and one of the questions that came up on it was, who was the president of Comhaltas Ceoltar Éireann? And I think about 70% of them wrote down Martin Donohoe. It wasn't the correct answer, but as I said, he's well known. Martin is very, very well known, and he's a great man for keeping the music going, because every week he has something new on. He's a man of surprises. You never know what he's going to do, and we all know that, or what he's going to say either. You never know, but he keeps the music going. He really does. And when the three Flacciol, the Éireann, came to CAVAN, Martin was very, very instrumental there in getting that done. And he put his shoulder to the wheel, and he was the events manager, and he was the manager of everything that went on. And as I said, he's still like that, because see the group he has here behind him, they're all very loyal to him. And I don't know what he has got. Is it charisma you call that, Karen? Or what is it? Charisma. We'll call it charisma. He's got that touch. As well as that, as I said, Martin presents a show on Shannonside Northern Sound, and we're all deeply indebted to that, because that's where we get all our publicity. We send Martin a text, and he's always on the ball. And we sent him one of those famous texts about 3 or 4 weeks ago when this event was coming up, and we said, Martin, would there be any chance that you could include some of us on the show, and maybe we'd give it a little bit of publicity? And he actually gave us nearly a full show, nearly 2 hours, and we had a great show, including Mick Foster, and everybody was on that show. So give him a good round of applause to Martin Donohoe. Martin Donohoe. We have all the Nya branch here, the whole Nya branch. So give them a special round of applause.
And what about a round of applause for the great MC tonight, Master Clark himself, Mr. Philip Clark. A long time doing great stuff, always a friend of mine. I frightened him once. He was with Fintan McManus, my good friend, once, and I says, you know, Philip and Fintan, when I die, you're going to carry the coffin. And the lads nearly shit themselves. Fintan says, no, I'm carrying your coffin. So anyway, that was the stories we have when we're fun and games. The Rileys are up next from Mullahorn, good area, and of course Bernie's over here on the guitar, secretary of the branch, and of course there's an All-Ireland champion there, there's an Ulster champion there, and they brought home 2 silvers from Ulster Flat the weekend. The wonderful Singing O'Reillys from Mullahorn, Hannah, Emily and Charlie. And sometimes we call them the triplets because they're very alike, they're all funny looking, but tonight we give them their names, isn't that right, Hannah? And of course we have the Duffys, the dancing brothers. We don't only have the 3 lads, but one of them's injured from rugby, Ulster rugby, but we have 2 of the best of the brothers here who love to dance. And of course they brought home 2 gold medals from the Ulster Flat. The dancing Shannos Kings will be coming out. And here we have Karen McMahon on your right, guitarist. Katrina Duffy, Marion Crow's daughter, mother of the Duffy woman, great woman on the whistle and teaching the branch kids. Give her a bull of bus. Katrina Duffy. Young Pádraig Conroy hiding behind me here. It's great to have Maura McEntee with us tonight. Maura's down there. My first music was in the town hall, so it's a wonderful building for me to come back and see the success of tonight. And thanks for the vision of Tom and Mary to make the night possible along with the conference. But the town hall was where CAVAN Town Ceoltas used to meet. And Maura McEntee's here tonight. This is her nephew, Pádraig Conroy. But Maura would have made me my first cup of tea at a Ceoltas session and fed me buns. So she's to blame for the way I am. And Paddy McEntee, her late husband, Jim Taylor, Patsy, all them, they're all dead. With the last standing, and it was all down in that front room there we met for years and years. So my success came from the work they done in the Ceoltas branch. And Laura's calls it a family, so we always have lots of families here. We have Pádraig, and then we have the 3 Currans from Drung. We have Aoife, Concertina, Sean, All-Ireland pipes, Ulster and provincial winners and county winners, Niall on the flute. From Drung, County Cavan, the Currans. And we're going to now play, first of all, a song, and it's very good with the conferences here because a woman from Leitrim wrote this, and you have a chorus, and it's called Related. We're all related somewhere. It's a great song. I can hear the people because it's so popular on the radio. Fionnuala Maxwell wrote this song, so she did Fionnuala O'Reilly from Leitrim, and it's a great song, especially with the theme of emigration and families and, of course, diaspora. So CAVAN calling is well suited to this song. It's called Simply Related. And then we'll go into a tune. Laura's paid a tribute to Jack Keys, and Jack Keys was the FEC chairman, the FLA executive chair, and he was the chief executive of Cavan County Council, and he was a wonderful man who delivered so much for Cavan during them All-Irelands. Apart from his passion for the music from being from Kiltare, he was just a great man for a FLA. And we had 3 great All-Irelands, and I think Jack Keys deserves a round of applause in his absence because he's a real Cavan man, really. Laura's paid tribute to him. So I wrote a tune for Jack Keys because I knew we wouldn't have him forever, and he went off to Offaly, him and the wife, and I've met him. I was down in the rugby club playing and he came to see us. But Jack Keys Reel, which got second place in the newly composed tunes a few years ago, which was a real shock because Paddy Ryan was judging. I couldn't believe it. He gave me second, but he did. And then we're going to go into 2 old tunes for the dancers. Miss McLeod's, talk about tunes coming around the world and sharing the music. Well, Scotland would be a source of John Daly's lovely tunes there. He talked about some of the great composers. Well, Miss McLeod comes from Scotland and we robbed it and we brought it back to Ireland, and it's so popular for the dancers. And especially for the lady herself here tonight. We don't often get to see her. We always get an odd chance at a meeting or something to meet Archstewart or Dr. Laura O'Murricu, but we never see Una O'Murricu too much. And she's sitting here tonight in the second row with Bernard O'Sullivan, the official driver. Give Una a big welcome to Cavan. And of course she's from Clare, up the banner. So we changed our little set of tunes and we're going to play the concertina reel for her. So it's song and some reels and to send us finish and get out of the way. And we meet every Sunday in the Farnham with our Nya Session show. And apologies, we were getting a photograph taken for the local press. They wanted a photograph to highlight it for Cavan Calling. So are you ready for Mullahorn? This is where Anto McGowan comes from. And Bernie told me that she used to sing when she was milking the cows and the kids used to listen to her. Isn't that right, Bernie? No, she's kind of red there, but she did. She told me that. I used to milk the cows. So here we go. Chris and Carlotta are down there. I can hear them giggling. They're from Washington and they came home especially for the weekend. And they love the Rileys, and so will you. Emily, Charlie and Hannah.
Oh, my granny had a talent for the genealogy. For before there were computers, she would trace your family tree. You call in for a visit, and before you drank your tea, to everyone you'd know you'd be related. Ah, we are all related through marriage or through birth, which either is a blessing or a God Almighty curse. And you can trace the lineage for what it might be worth, but in all your land, sure, we are all related. Now, me name it is O'Reilly, I don't know. For me father, he was Riley, but his father had an O. And one of them refused the soup and they were forced to go. So to all the travelling Rileys I'm related. Ah, we are all related through marriage or through birth, which either is a blessing or a God Almighty curse. And you could trace the lineage for what it might be worth, but in all your land, sure, we are all related. Hush your cousins on the radio, my granddad he would say, and we hope that you'll become a singing star like her someday. Now second, third or twice removed, does it matter anyway? To the famous Eleanor Shanley I'm related. Ah, we are all related through marriage or through birth, which either is a blessing or a God Almighty curse. And you could trace the lineage for what it might be worth, but in all your land, sure, we are all related. Now me husband's second cousin is my second cousin too, and before ancestral thoughts arise, is legal true and true. And his brother's married to his sister's husband's sister, who, sure, like I'm trying to say, we're all related. Ah, we are all related through marriage or through birth, which either is a blessing or a God Almighty curse. And you can trace the lineage for what it might be worth, but in all your land, sure, we are all related. And if you don't believe me, just try it out someday. Just pick a random stranger, a local or a stray. You'll you'll find that you're related in some peculiar way. And don't forget me in your will, 'cause we're related. Ah, we're all related through marriage or through birth, which either is a blessing or a God Almighty curse. And you can trace the lineage for what it might be worth. But in Ireland, sure, we are all related.
Welcome the Rileys. You're all related now. You heard it here in the town hall. And remember, we mentioned the will because in CAVAN, every year there was a prisoner. Remember that? Every year was a prisoner.
Now, Martin, you got a very quick end there. You caught me on the hop, as to say. But sure, that's the way it goes. Anyway, did you enjoy Martin Donoghue and the Nya branch of Coltis? So, well done, Martin. Now, the next man that we have coming up is well known, not just in Cavan, but he's known everywhere. He's from Mullaghorton. He's always liked to be called a good Mullaghorton man. He's run the Mullaghorton concert down there for in excess of 50 years, is it, Martin? Yeah. In excess of 50 years. And he's been involved in everything from writing books about the music and the history and all the rest, to playing the music, to teaching the music, to all the rest. His name is Anton McGowan. Are you there, Anton? Some people think that Tony Smith is a different person to Anton McGowan, and that's a fact. But I'm reliably informed that Tony Smith and Anton McGowan is all the same. Is that right, Anton? That's right. The same person.
Wonderful book you brought out.
Yeah, he only gets paid once. That's it. So anyway, Anton's well able to talk. He's been there. He's done that. And I'm not going to detain you any further. I'll let Anton do the talking. Anton McGowan.
Thank you. Up Mullahorn, exactly, Martin. Yeah, thanks. I'll start off two little jigs here. The first one is a little tune my daughter Kathleen put together, and she called it Moan Wee Bog. I don't know if there's anyone from Mullahorn here, but Moan Wee Bog is up at Kilcogie, where I grew up, and our house was at the end of the big long bog road. And Moan Wee Bog got cut out in the 1960s, and there was forestry put on it since, and now the forestry is cut and gone as well. But you remember then in the 60s, all the men would be out on the bog cutting the turf, and there'd be men with barrows and slipes pulled by asses and so on. And we'd be going home from school, and it was lovely to take a shortcut across the bog in the bare feet on the turf mound. You'd remember that. And all the neighbours out, all the locals on the banks of turf, there'd be a whole row of them across the bog cutting their turf. And nearly all in white shirts. They'd be on white shirts on a Monday because they had a white shirt on a Sunday for going to Mass, and they wore it again on Monday. So that's the Moan Wee Bog, and little tune of Sean Ryan's after it called the Hawthorn Hedge. Okay, a couple of reels. Old stables from out my direction too, that we always used to play, The Boys of the Loch and The Maids of Castlebar. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, that's Anton McGowan, and Anton never disappoints, a great man for the tradition and all the rest. Never forgets the old tunes. He always gets ones like the Boys at Loch and all those fitted in. Great man for the tradition, great man for the teaching and all the rest. Now, we're down to our very last item, Martin, is that right? And you've been so good. There wasn't a word out of you, and it was just a pleasure for anybody up here to perform. Now, the next group that we have probably needs no introduction. We just have them down on the sheet as Mick Foster and Friends, but Mick Foster and Friends includes Myra Fraser here beside me, because she's part of the Foster and Allen group, and she's a bit more than that. She's also Mick's wife, and Mick himself should be on the way out, I presume he is. This man here with the banjo is called Willie CAVAN, and Willie has been on the traditional scene for a long time, and many's the tune we had up in Gunnings and all the rest. And the man setting up the drums is called Aidan Flood, and he's been with the Glenside and with different Kelly bands, and now we see his family are getting prominent in the music and all the rest. And the man coming right here you all know is called Mick Foster. Give him a round of applause. I think I know Mick better through the handball at this stage, because Mick has been a great man for handball. He got me actually back to handball. I'd stopped handball for a long, long time, and Mick was the man that got me back. And I remember calling to Mick's house for a cup of tea after some of the games of handball. And the first thing I noticed was that when I went to the gates, I saw some music notes on it, and I tried to decipher what they were. It was the first 8 notes of St. Anne's Reel, is that right?
Very well.
And it's on his gates. And I think Willie Kavanagh might have been the man that did it, is that right?
He made it.
Willie was the man that made it. So there we are. So Mick Foster and Friends.
Right. Yeah. Right. Thanks very much. I have a kind of a loose mic here now, but I have it fixed. I think. Anyway, there were a couple of hornpipes, and I have to keep an eye on the watch, you see, and the reason for why, because Bridget Eddy said, if you do any more than 20 minutes, we'll pull out the plug. So, whether she meant it or not, I don't know, but I'm not going to take any chances. Anyway, we'll do a few reels. First one is the Vandy's Go, Touch Me If You Dare, and the Humours a Tola Willie says. Aye. Thanks very much. Thanks very much. Well, seeing as I am the oldest one on the stage, I'm going to have a rest. Because what happens is a lot of people doesn't know that, as well as playing piano, that Myra also plays an accordion. Now, we normally don't let her play accordion too much because I've enough competition outside the family without having it in it. But we'll make an exception tonight because we're down here for Philip Clark. And so we're going to get Myra to do a tune on the accordion. And Aidan's daughter, Maeve, she's there somewhere. Maeve is going to accompany her on the piano, and the biggest reason for that is because they don't know how. So we'll hand you over to Moira and Maeve, and then we'll see what happens after that. And Bridge, I promise I'm keeping an eye on the clock. Cheers, I think this chair is welded to the floor. Turn around here, missus.
Have to get harnessed.
No,
thank
she's
you.
all you.
Thank you. Thanks. I'm going to play a little tune. I hope you don't mind. It's not an Irish tune, and it's not a Scottish tune either. It's a wee bit of a continental tune just for a change, and Maeve is going to accompany me. It's called the Cuckoo Waltz. Thank you, Maeve. Rod, thank you.
That's enough of that, carry on. What was that? I get myself hooked up here. There was an old parish priest one time. And this particular Sunday morning, he was a very sick and unwell man. Wasn't able to get out of bed. The church full with people. He didn't know what he was going to do, so eventually he came up with a plan. He said to his housekeeper, will you run out there to the church, and the first fella you meet, will you bring him in? He says, and so I can tell him a few things. And then he can go back out and tell the people in the church. So the housekeeper was in such a hurry to get out for some fella for the parish priest that she never really noticed that the lad she got wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer. And she brought him in and up to the parish priest. And I had a little bit of a chat, and it went something like this. It was Mick Malone, the biggest goose that ever yet was born, that Father Pat called to his bed upon that Sunday morning. Now Mick says I'm very ill and I can't say Mass today, and although the people can't hear Mass for them, it is no sin. Next Tuesday is the feast day of St. Peter and St. Paul. But wait now, for that's not all. I announced the banns of marriage and hear the priest put on a frown. Ah yes, I remember now of George Green and Katie Brown. Next Friday is the first Friday, and I'll tell you furthermore on Sunday next. The Pope's collection will be taken at the door. A small black bag was lately found lying in the church. If the owner wants to have it back, it's hanging in the porch. So often Mick in the vestry doffed his coat and hat, put on the snow white surplice. 'Twas meant for Father Pat. He faced the congregation with a nervous cough or two. Brethren, the priest is ill, but that's no sin for you. I announced the bonds of marriage between St. Peter and St. Paul. But wait now, for that's not all. Next Tuesday's the feast day, and like the priest, Mick put on a frown. Ah yes, next Tuesday's the feast day of George Green and Katie Brown. Next Thursday's the first Friday, and I'll tell you furthermore on Sunday next. The Pope will be collecting at the door. And if you want to know the reason for his visit to the church, you'll find it in a small black bag that's hanging in the porch. Hey. Thank you very much. Now, still keeping an eye on Bridget's clock, we're going to get Willie to do a banjo solo, and he's going to do a Carlin's concerto, and then he's going to go into a reel, and I'll do my best to keep with him. Willie Cavan. Thanks very much. Well now, I suppose to keep an eye for Breach, we'll chance one more selection. thanks very much for listening to us, and thanks twice as much for Philip Clark for bringing us down. And just to let you know that we have a few CDs out there that we just as soon not bring home. And I think Aidan's wife or Aidan's son is out there selling them, and they're very, very reasonable. They're only €10 or 20 for two. So what we're going to do now is we're going to finish off with a couple of jigs, and I can't see Breach wherever she is, but anyway, we'll keep going as best we can until she pulls out the plug. We're going to do 3 jigs, and they're three-part jigs, so we'll just do them once over. And the first is the cook in the kitchen, the wandering minstrel, and the battered and ram. Thanks very much. Thanks very much.
Now, well done indeed, Mick, and Mick is one of the great people involved in the music in all levels, especially in Irish music. Keeps the great branch growing up there in Miltown, Connors and all the rest. And I'd like, just before, they're going to play the national anthem first, without asking you, but I presume you don't mind doing that. Just to thank everybody that's been involved, Dr. Galligan Branch, CAVAN, County Council, and the whole festival committee, and everybody that's been involved in this, to Coltis Kiltary Erin headquarters, to Lauris and all the people up there, Bernard and everybody in Una, and the great support that they've given our branch over the years, from all the different flagpoles that we ran, to the Dr. Galligan concerts, to the bunch of keys, to all the rest. They're behind us all the way, and I'd like you to give them a special round of applause. And especially to all you good people who came out tonight, I hope you enjoyed it. And I suppose it's very important to thank all the artists who took part tonight. They were all really great. And the one thing I think we'd say, Mick, was they were really appreciative audience, very quiet, listened to all the notes that you played, all the songs you sang.
Even the wrong ones.
Even the wrong ones. And especially that one about the priest and all the rest, they were glued to that. And Myra's we enjoyed your tunes on the accordion. I have to say, Myra is always a great performer, not just on accordion, on piano, or anything that you hand her to sing. She didn't get singing tonight, but that was the way it was. So, are we ready for the national anthem?
Yeah.
And again, thanks to everybody. Slán.
Thank you very much.
CAVAN is calling to all from far and wide to return to the place that they call home and feel a sense of pride. A place where history is in the hills, where many have made their home, where seeds of friendship can be sown and new love begins to grow. We welcome back those who've left, who sought fortunes far away, but who have kept CAVAN in their soul and will settle in without delay. There's magic in the waterways and the woods where you once stood. The evening lights are always bright and the food is always good. And if you venture to foreign lands, you'll always know you're not alone. Now again, as it was before, you'll be welcomed back to your home. CAVAN is calling to all from far and wide to return to the place that they call home and feel a sense of pride. CAVAN is calling